Welcome everyone to this Let's Play of Kerbal Space Program Better Than Ever. Now unusually you find me already out on the launch pad. I have already selected a contract to complete. This one is to test an experimental ion engine in orbit around Kerbin at approximately 100 kilometers, and you can just about see the ion engine there at the top. We also have our kOS scriptable control system, which will help us with our ascent. Now what we're going to talk about today is a simple script to actually control our pitch and heading during ascent. But before we do that, we need to talk about archives and volumes and what they are and how you use them. So let's begin by opening our console as usual. Now there are a number of volumes or drives available to you in kOS. The first of those is the archive volume, also known as volume 0, and this is available to all of your craft. It is stored back at KRC and is effectively unlimited. Now you can see what is in a volume by typing list, and we can see that by default we are on volume 1. And volume 1 is the volume available to your first control system, and if you had more there would be a volume 2, a volume 3, a volume 4 and so on. You can switch between volumes with the switch to command. So if we switch to volume 0 and type list, we will see the list of scripts that I have already written. Now scripts are just text files stored on your local hard drive that just happen to have the extension .ks. You can edit them with any text editor you like. Notepad, I happen to use Notepad++, and we'll have a look at one of these scripts in a moment. Now notice archive 0 has effectively infinite size, whereas our current kOS system, which is here, has only 10k of space. The smaller model, which you get with precision engineering, which is designed for small satellites, has only 5k of space. So why on earth would you ever use other volumes? Well, if you've got remote tech in place, you can probably guess that if you don't have a remote tech connection back to KSC, you also don't have a connection to the archive volume. Even if you don't have remote tech, kOS approximates the same thing and just works out whether you would have had a connection back to KSC based on the antenna you have on your craft. So think remote tech in order to understand whether you would have access back to volume 0, the archive volume. Now if you don't guarantee that you'd have that connection, we will need to copy our script. In this case we're going to copy ascend.ks to volume 1. We are then going to switch back to volume 1, so we are now using the kOS storage, and just to double check we will list what's on our current volume, and there we can see we have the ascend script and it is taking up some space on our drive, and we have 8,613 bytes left to copy other scripts. Now if you just want to see what your current script is, or one of your current scripts, there is a built-in editor. So let's edit ascend.ks, if I could spell. And you can see in this window here we have a very straightforward script that is going to allow us to ascend to an altitude of 100,000 meters. The ship apoapsis 100,000 meters. We will go through this script in a few short moments. So let's just exit and close our terminal and have a look at our script. Looking at my script ascend.ks in Notepad++, we see a series of commands that are no different from any commands that you could use in the console. So we begin with clear screen, followed by SAS off. Now kOS can't control the pitch of your craft if SAS is on, so make sure you switch that off when you start your script. Lines 5 and 6 are where all the magic happens. Line 5 locks the variable p to an expression, and this expression will be constantly updated as your ship ascends. The variable is set to an expression which includes the ship's altitude divided by 32,000 metres. Now 32 kilometres is roughly where the upper atmosphere begins, so we'll go between 90 degrees, which is vertical, and 30 degrees, which is a nice pitch to finish your ascent gravity turn. Now we use P in line 6, where we lock the steering to heading of 90 degrees, which is east, and a pitch of P. So as P changes, the heading will be constantly updated, so the steering will be constantly updated. And we've added our fudge factor of a roll of minus 90 degrees to prevent our craft rotating upon launch. Next, we launch using the stage command. Lines 10 through 14 are a simple loop using the until command. This loop will continue until the ship's altitude reaches that height of 32 kilometres, and during that time it will print the current pitch, rounded to 2 decimal places, at column 7, line 15 on the console, and it will wait 1 second between each iteration. Once we reach that altitude, we'll clear the screen and print a label just telling us we are cruising to set our apoapsis. We will switch our lights on. Now in this case, this is just a substitute for switching on a specific action group, because early in our career mode we don't have action groups, but we can use the pseudo action group for lights, and I've bound all my extendable items like my solar panels to the lights, so when the lights come on, the solar panels will extend. Next we unlock the steering, releasing the steering back to user control, and we switch the SAS on to keep us pointing in the right direction. On line 23, we wait until the ship's apoapsis has reached 100 kilometres. Finally, we set the ship's controls, the pilot's main throttle, that is the real throttle, the one that you actually press the shift and control keys for, not what it calls the cooked throttle or the raw throttle, which are actually computed values. And it's important to do this because if you don't, the script will end and your throttle will be put back to whatever the throttle was before the script started. So if you find that happening, this is the command you need to add to the bottom of your scripts. Finally, we clear the screen and end the script. Back at KSC, we are now ready to run our script. So let's run ascend.ks and launch. Now, just to prove it's actually working, I've added the pitch setting to the Kerbal Engineer HUD. Now, it takes a few seconds for the HUD to update the pitch. So as we ascend, let's just watch for the pitch to start updating. And there we go. So that now matches the value we can see here on the screen. You can see we are displaying this in roughly the middle. That's the print at part of the command, so we can see our display here as the value of P is being slowly updated. And of course we can also see our pitch slowly turning over here on the nav ball. So all we have to do is manage the throttle and manage the staging. Now of course you can put that into a script as well, but for the purposes of this exercise we are going to do that part manually. So the first thing we need to watch out for is the staging of our solid rocket boosters. So we've got about a quarter of the full fuel left. We will have to increase our throttle just before we stage, so let's keep an eye out for that. We can see our pitch continues to turn over just very gently. Few percent of our solid fuel booster to go. Let's up the throttle just so that we're ready to separate. And there we go. Now our pitch is continuing to turn over. And we've picked up a slight wobble on the roll axis. Not much we can do about that at the moment. kOS is in charge. Now our next target is to reach 32 kilometers, at which point our lights will go on and our extendable devices, our antenna and our solar panels, will extend. So let's keep an eye out for that. 26 kilometers. Pitch is continuing to turn over. Now when we get to 32 kilometers, this should be about 30 degrees. So here we go. 31 and 32. There we go. There go our extendable parts. Our SAS has come on, and we are cruising to our set apoapsis. So we're looking for this to become 100 kilometers. 80, 90, done. So the program has ended, and we now have full control of both throttle and of course pitch and direction. Notice the throttle has returned to 0, not its default of about 50%. So I guess we better get on and complete our mission. So let's get centered on Kerbin. Let's get our maneuver node in place. There we go. 188, much too much. Pull it back. 98 and 100. And we just need to be over 91 and under 105, so that's excellent. And let's get remote tech to do this bit. So let's point towards the node and execute it in 1 minute 24 seconds. So there we can see the ship homing in on the node. Just have a look at our ship. There we go, all ready and lined up. So let's just accelerate towards that node with time warp. Now we have 968 delta V. I don't think we have quite enough. So we are going to have to stage. So let's get ready to do that. 20 seconds remaining. 15. Going to almost make it, so we will need just a tiny amount of fuel in this last stage. And there we go. Just eject that stage just as we get into orbit. So we're around Kerbin, we are in orbit, we are in the relatively wide altitude range. So let's right click on the engine and run test. And there we have a successfully completed mission. So let's just look at our mission report. We got 242,000 funds for testing that tiny little engine. We got 98 science and 606 reputation. I think for the tiny amount we invested in that script, that was excellent. So I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I hope you learnt a little bit about Kerbal operating system scripts. And you'll come back next time for another episode in this Let's Play. So with that said, I'd like to thank you for watching and hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.